Welcome to Leafs Talk Live. Well, kind of live. Actually, the opposite of live. We're recording this. This is it. We're live with each other in this moment that you're listening to it. It's an emergency podcast. That's what I meant to say. It's an emergency pod. It's Friday. It's 2:52 p.m., brother.
Yeah.
And we wanted to do this at this time
Mm-hmm.
because it's a little bit more fun to react live if
Yeah.
this is all of it. So
You get to watch us scroll on our phones while we
yeah,
furiously talk to each other. So where
the
do you want to start, brother?
the Scroll Boys. Well, let's start with what we know, right?
Okay.
And what we know is that the Leafs have acquired Scott Laughton, and a fourth and a sixth round pick in exchange for Nikita Grabenkin,
Mm-hmm.
fan favorite, right? Guy
Oh, yeah.
who's been very loved here.
Yeah.
Sorry, I should also say they acquired Scott Laughton at 50% retained,
Uh-huh.
a fourth round pick and a sixth round pick for fan favorite Nikita Rankin, and a first round pick that I've seen is a conditional 2026 pick that can be
2020, it's 2020,
2027.
it's a 2027 top 10 protected first round
Yeah.
pick.
Okay. So
That's where
all
it
right.
is.
So then there's no conditions that can make it a 2026 pick then.
No.
So because I saw a couple people floating that out there. 2027 pick that is top 10 protected. So yeah, worst case Ontario and the Leafs end up in that spot. They grab pick protections, which I actually really like.
Mm-hmm.
I'll start by saying this. I hand up. I was not for a Lawton trade. I just didn't see it as something that was going to be appealing for a Leafs. He's another lefty. I wanted a little bit more goal scoring punch. And the big concern for me was that I was working under the premise that Toronto was going to pay a lot for him at what has been a clear seller's deadline, right? You saw what Brock Nelson was traded for example, where it's your top prospect in the organization and a first round pick and a couple of other little pieces. And that's a rental. That's a rental.
Yeah.
And yeah, prices have always been high at deadline time, but this year, inflation isn't just hitting your grocery store, it's hitting the NHL trade deadline too, because that's not something that we've grown accustomed to. That's usually something with term. And for a guy that still has $3 million left on his deal,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's only 1.5, which I tweeted earlier is literally Ryan Reeves money against the
Yeah.
cap moving forward next season. I was working under the impression that the Leafs were going to do something bad. Like when I saw they had acquired Lawton, I
Mm-hmm.
sat there staring at Twitter, doing the refresh like we're doing right now. And I thought to myself, brace yourself, brother. Brace yourself. I'm going to say that in the context of the deadline, which is Toronto wasn't able to match the prices for some of these other players.
Yeah.
Braden Shen didn't want to come here. Ryan O'Reilly still hates Toronto, not willing to ever come back here, apparently.
Uh-huh.
And what the prices were, I think that this is a win for Tree Living. The question's going to be that in 6 more minutes, are we still going to feel that way if this is it?
Yeah.
This in a vacuum is great.
On the surface, yeah, just with all the stuff that you broke down there, I think it's really hard to not like this trade because, like you said, I sent out a tweet after I think it was Pagnotta that first tweeted out that Lawton was going to the Leafs. And I sent out a tweet being like, the picks and prospects protectors are in shambles right now. They're
Oh
about to
my
have
God.
a field day. And you got to really, really worried about what it was going to be. And, a first round pick, that's always scary for any fan. Like, fans are so protective of first round picks. And it's such a scary thing to trade in any depth move. Like, Scott Lawton's going to be more than a depth guy, but he's going to play in your bottom 6.
Yep.
But like you said, matching it against what other guys went for, and the fact that they got a couple picks to work with coming back, they retain it. They're paying what, $1.5 million for this year and next for Scott Laughton.
Yep.
It's really hard to not categorize that as a big time win. Like, I think he has the potential to be a very, very popular player in this market.
Yeah.
Right. Local guy, like he fits all the check marks for when it comes to people, what they like in this market. He's Oakville boy, I think.
Yeah, he is.
Greasy, like he's got an FU to him, played for the Generals. Like he's just like an OHL, Ontario, leafy kind of guy that the fans are really going to like. And he's a playoff type player. Like you
Yep.
go up in a series against the Lightning, you go in a series against the Panthers. He's not going to back down from guys like that. So I really do like this trade. And like I said, we're 4 minutes away here from the big red siren going off at the end of the deadline. But this is a great start, and it feels like it might be a finish. But yeah, incredible. Maybe not incredible. Good trade by Brad.
Yeah.
Brad Treliving today.
Yeah, I'm not going to blow this out of the water and pretend like this is the greatest thing that's ever happened. Like a
Yeah.
first round pick obviously has value, but what
Yeah.
I got to say is go through the last 10 picks of the first round year over year over year.
Hmm.
And even just to contextualize it, put it in Toronto's standpoint. Like that's where you're looking at Ben Danfords. That's where you're looking
Yeah.
at Fraser Mintons. Yeah, every once in a while you hit an Easton Cowan. And again, we still don't know exactly what he's going to be, but at least you get somebody that has some real pedigree and some meaningful upside, right? But those slots are not usually reserved for the Corey Perrys of the world, right? They're
Hmm.
usually what you're hoping for with Scott Laughton, which
Yep.
is a cost controllable depth center who's got some grit and a winning attitude. But to your point about the playoffs, this guy has played in 24 career playoff games. He's got 10 points. He's a +2 with 27 PIMs, 6 goals, 4 assists.
Yep.
Like he is a crash the net, greasy guy.
Hmm.
You called it before, actually. Got to say, hashtag McKee Insider. You're the first guy I ever heard talk about Lawton to the Leafs. When we did Leafs talk after a Flyers game,
Oh yeah.
I wish we could jump cut here, but our editors are going to work to get this up as soon as possible. We're not going to make them grind through the Flyers tape,
Yeah.
but I could jump cut this right now and go, you saying this guy would be a great fit for the Leafs.
Yeah.
I think again, context matters. You have to look at the prices of what the other players were and
Mhm.
what the expectation was that as you got closer to the deadline, there was more pressure on Tree Living to get a trade like this done. There was a very limited market for him to work with. And even if you compare him to, like, say, Charlie Coyle, right? Who's, I think, 3 years older, that required Colorado to send out Middlestat and a
Yeah.
second round pick, which is going to be presumably higher than what Toronto's is. 2027 with this core,
Yeah.
that's non-existent. To
Yeah.
me, with the top 10 protection, I'm sorry, I don't really think that the Leafs gave up too much for a guy that automatically is going to give them a bit more identity and, yeah, some real defensive shut it down with a tiny bit of goal scoring and net crashing presence come playoff time. Playoff player.
2027 first round pick, a player selected in that entry draft would likely been contributing the year 2031.
Yeah.
Would that the year 2030, like at
Yeah.
very best scenario here? It is now the year 2025.
Yeah.
Like if you're really getting bent into shape about that at all, you really have to sort of rearrange your priorities when it
Yeah.
comes to what the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to do. So I think the natural question is who is he going to play with? What is your third line
Yeah.
going to be? Because I think that's very clear. He's automatically your third line center. So are you comfortable with him playing with a Yarncroc and a McMahon? Do you want Holmberg down on that line there? And you got to have, Yarncroc go back into the top six, which is something that neither of us would really love.
No.
I'm, Domi maybe playing with him and they could have a bit of snarl. That's a dumb penalty waiting to happen though on that
Oh,
line.
yeah. Those boys are dying to take a dumb penalty in a big spot. They're
So
thirsty for it.
I don't know how you kind of go with the rest of your roster here as I'm
Yeah.
got the Sportsnet feed on my TV in the studio here. 2-1, Gabango, the deadline has now arrived. So we'll see. I don't know. Are you scrolling hard over there? It feels
Okay,
like,
well, I'll give you just one quick update.
yes.
All the Leafs players
Uh-huh.
are accounted for at the practice center, which would
Okay.
lead me to believe that Nick Robertson has not been dealt,
Okay.
which is pretty surprising considering when you're talking about how the lines shake out.
Mm-hmm.
Not really sure where he goes in that as of right now. There are still deals that can come in as of right now. Braden Shen is 100% staying in St. Louis, according to Andy Strickland.
Yeah.
But if the Leafs stood pat on the blue line, this is going to get into, like, the positive talk got out of the way early on here. So I think that your point about the lines is a super interesting one. And that's where it starts to get complicated for me with Laughton. Part of the reason why I wasn't crazy about Laughton is not because he's another lefty, right? I think that that's a little overstated. Of course, you'd love to have a guy who can take a right-handed face off and, give your lineup a little bit of extra versatility. But that to me is not nearly as important for this team as, like, say, adding a right shot defenseman, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just not.
Or any breathing defenseman.
Yeah.
Left or right. Literally
human,
any human, like somebody.
a human being. Oh, I just want to also wrap up too that the Grabenkin thing, which is again fan favorite, but and has some skill, has some hockey sense, forecheck, back check, paycheck, work. What was it? Work, sleep, work. This is this guy, legend, legend with a quote. Going to miss his quotes, but ultimately not a crazy great skater. And you're really hoping that he was going to be a depth winger. Like I think that's his ceiling as a player. And so, as much as you like the personality, much as you love the fire, the passion that he brought, the way that he
Mhm.
connected to this fan base, you're just not. You can't be all that upset about it. You still kept flexibility with your top tier prospects, and he was still like, I would say, a C plus prospect at best from what everybody had talked to me about him. Now
Yeah, I
to the
mean, like,
lines. Oh,
wow.
sorry, you want to
Can
weigh
you,
in on that?
yeah, can you imagine, like in 3 years, he's definitely scoring like a goal against the Leafs, and the people
Oh
be like,
yeah,
oh yeah, in his
yeah,
8 minutes of left wing ice time against
yeah,
the
one
Leafs
hundred
when he's
percent.
playing for the Flyers. That's a lock. But
Yeah,
I think of all the Leafs sort of quote unquote prospects, he's the one that meant the less to me, the least to
yes,
me in terms of actual contributions. So,
yeah. Out of
anyways,
those guys, no question, absolutely no question. Okay, so again, with the line fit, the one of the reasons why I didn't like Laughton is, and I talked about this on my podcast a couple of days ago, which is the added idea of getting a Braden Shen to me was you could put him with Mitch Marner and have that be credible. You could have him go with William Nylander and have that be credible. You could change things up in order to like have
I,
some versatility with your lines. And now I just I don't see that with Laughton. And I think it's going to still be a little bit of complications of who are his wingers. And
I
I think you try him with Domi and with McMahon to start, but I don't know if that's going to be what ends up being in stone. What do you got? Your face is making faces.
from our own Elliot Friedman,
Yeah.
last minute possibility. Hearing Brad Marchand could be traded to Florida.
Please no. Please don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. No. Dude, no. That's one thing you can't have. You can't have that be a thing. No, 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 no. I
Oh,
just,
turn off the pod. I got nothing. Like, oh my God. You seeing that?
yeah, I'm seeing that, but no, please don't let that be a thing
Okay.
because
And
he's too perfect with the Panthers. Like playing a series against Brad Marchand and Matthew Tkachuk and Sam Bennett,
so,
it's just no.
so your boy Myrtle just tweeted that he says he doesn't think the Leafs are done. So maybe
Well, nor should they
that's
be.
no, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, now I'm thinking of a first or second round playoff series where you're going to have to deal with not only Sam Bennett and Brady Kachuk, who are both
Mhm,
fantastic hockey players and excellent agitators and have the ability to get under your skin.
mhm,
There's a potential of Brad Marchand being part of that. Like, this is an LTIR situation where Brady Kachuk, like, the crazy thing is that everybody rang their hands about all the Four Nations face off and what cost did it come for all these teams. It's like, meanwhile, the America, they lost it, but they're about to win again with like Brad Marchand now gonna maybe go to the Panthers because Matthew Kachuk got hurt in that tournament.
buddy. My number one thought is you finally avoid Brad Marchand in the playoffs, and then you don't.
You know, you know.
You don't. You finally go, the Bruins are dead. Goodbye, Brad Marchand. And then potentially he goes to the Panthers. All right. We'll see if this ends up shaking out.
Yeah.
But okay, that brings me to the next question here as we're waiting for the blue liner, because I think that I'll say this the way if you wanted me to give a letter grade for the Leafs on the Laughton trade,
Mhm.
again, contextually, I'll
Yep.
say it's a B plus.
Yep.
It wasn't my favorite thing. They still did give up a first. There's definitely questions about who he's going to play with and how that's going to operate. He's not a major goal scorer, and that is something that this team has been desperately looking for in the past.
Yeah.
He creates some awkward conversations about who comes out of the lineup if nobody else is just purely traded
Mhm.
from this roster. You're going to have to either play him with Max Domi and see if you can get that like gritty element from those two with a little bit, hopefully, of a scoring punch with McMahon
Yeah.
on that line.
Yeah.
But ultimately, if you're looking for a pure checking line that he's supposed to be on, a heavier checking line, those guys aren't beautiful fits with him. And there isn't really a perfect option of guys to go with him. It's why I really would have liked him to be a part of like a multi-tiered deadline that would have included someone like Brandon Tanev, because
Mhm.
I would have thought like you add him with Tanev, wow, that's a great fit. You move some guys out, and now you're more of a Craig Berube team.
But yeah, so does this mean now that I guess in the best case scenario, you're putting like Bobby McMahon up into the top six because I think that's where he's looked the best, right? Like on playoff game one, Is he playing alongside Tavares and William Nylander? Or is it Pontus Holmberg still up there? Or like, Domi goes up into the top six. It's still like there's still not a person on this roster that you feel really comfortable. Like, feels like they're going to try to sell themselves on Yarncroc going up there again or one of these guys going up there again. So that
I
part for
like a
me,
fourth line of Camp, Yarncroc, and
yeah,
Lorentz.
that's a real hockey fourth line.
Yeah,
It
that
is.
is. Like, so I'm into that fourth line. By the way, according to Frank Saravelli, the Florida Panthers have traded Brad Marchand or for Brad Marchand. The trade call is in queue.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh my
But
God,
okay, but
man.
so that brings me to this, which is the hard part about this deadline, which is you got to ask yourself, did the Leafs get better? Yes, right?
Sure.
The Leafs got better. But did they get better than the Panthers and the Lightning?
Not even close.
Yeah, did they get better than the and I know that they're not in their division, but it's like other contenders. Did they get better than the Stars?
Not even close.
Did they get better than the Avalanche?
Not even close.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like when it comes to the contenders, I'm not sure who they outdid, which to me is still a failing. By the way, as we're talking about this, Connor Timmins has left practice. He was summoned off the ice. So I don't know if
Summoned.
that's
Hug
nothing.
watch.
Yeah, but I watch. I got to tell you though, like you finally get one little positive with the Laughton thing, and you go, okay, decent price, waited it out, worked out, and then to get the Brad Marchand to Florida gut punch, like literally the rat goes to the place where they throw rats on the ice. It's just, it's too perfect of a fit.
So
It disgusts me.
you got to see what that return is, right?
Honestly, who cares though? Because
No,
you're
but I'm
working in
just
the same
no,
window.
like I just mean that if they're willing to trade him to a rival,
Yeah. Why didn't you beat it?
why didn't you beat it?
Yeah. Same
Like,
thought.
I guess the Leafs and the Panthers are two completely different kettle of fish when it comes to perception in the Boston market. I think, right?
Yeah, I
Like,
guess.
I don't know,
Well,
trading
here's, you know why it's
but you know what I
different?
mean? Like the perception of trading Brad Marchand to the
Yeah.
Leafs is
Yeah.
much worse than trading Brad Marchand to the Panthers.
Yeah.
But like that is a nightmare for Leaf fans everywhere. That
Awful.
is it could not get worse than that. Like that
Buddy.
is like I would actually like Rantanen even is maybe less of a worst case scenario than him going there. Like I honestly don't know.
This is a true blue nightmare.
I'm really glad we got everyone's. They get to see our live reactions of our hearts breaking into a million pieces.
It's just like, again, you got to think for playoffs, right? It's like guys who score in tight, who are unafraid to go to dangerous areas,
Mm-hmm.
who get under opponents' skins, who are not afraid to finish a check, who have
Hmm.
leadership components and can fill in and just walk into a locker room and have presence. And like, that's that guy, dude. So
So
annoying.
just in here from CJ
Yeah,
that the Leafs are getting Brandon Carlo.
I like it. That's big. That matters. That matters. Still not going to say Brandon Carlo is making you feel better than the other two teams that don't. Maybe, I don't
Yeah,
know.
the Panthers literally just got Brad Marchand.
Yeah.
So it's hard to like look at anything through a
Yeah.
non-depressing lens right now, but
Yeah.
that is yeah, so Brandon Carlo is I wonder what that's got to be a big price cuz he's got term left on his thing, right? As I
Well,
quickly Google that.
I was going to say you're talking about a big guy who's right shot D and who's having a down year, doesn't provide like any offense. But this is like a souped up version, what you're hoping for with Luke Shen. I don't know what the contract is on Brandon Carlo. It can pull.
He's yeah, I mean he's a 6'5" right shot,
Yeah, he's a
220
monster.
pound
Yeah, he's a
man.
monster.
Uh
This is the most tree living
Carlo
thing to do possible.
was it cap wages now? So I'm just quickly googling this.
Yeah.
He is this year and two more after at
Okay.
4.1 million dollars.
Okay. So
So
how do they make that money work is the question. So clearly they would have taken Timmins off the ice then because he's off the team. You don't
yeah.
have a spot for him anymore. That's 1 million off the books.
Hmm.
Um, now we got to see how else they're going to make the money work here. I would have guessed that Boston doesn't want to do retention. Like they're a team that's trying to compete as soon as next year. Like you don't have David Pastrnak on your team and say, yeah, we're punting this for the next 3 seasons. So
Yeah.
how does Toronto get creative here to make this work? But yeah, Elliot Freeman has now said that he is a Toronto Maple Leaf. I got to tell you, like from a Tree Living standpoint, this is his dream. 6'5", mean, has got a ton of playoff experience.
Yeah, I got to
28
tell
years
you,
old.
I
Yeah,
really like that. I
yeah,
really like that trade. And that's often a guy where, I mean, you've watched enough Leafs Bruins games where you've kind of had envy of that guy in terms
yeah,
of, but you're right. He is having a down year. That can't be overstated in terms of what he's doing this year.
yeah.
But as I'm quickly Googling it again, I think he's at 1 goal and 8 assists this year.
Yeah, he's never been like a major production guy, but either
No.
way, it's like there hasn't been a lot. Like it's he's taken a step back from when he signed that contract.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason why Boston's giving up on a 28-year-old right shot D who is 6'5", right?
Yeah.
That they would even entertain a conversation with a division rival to get that done. We'll wait and see what the price is on this, but I'm gonna still guess that it's fairly high for them.
Yes.
Yeah, so
In the
yeah,
division where you're going to be seeing him for 2 more seasons.
right, right. But like this guy, he's not the shutdown defenseman that he was even the last couple of seasons. So yeah, maybe that impacted the price a little bit for Boston when they were trying to get some money off the books and they're trying to do this pivot. But I'm going to guess that the price is going to be fairly high on this guy. So anyway, if that's it, I will. This is the other thing with Carlo. If
Mhm.
you're Morgan Riley now, you got to feel like this team just made an investment in you because
Yes,
that guy automatically
absolutely.
slots in right next to you. You've had a down season. He's had a down season. Two of you guys should be meeting up for beers and going, let's make it happen. Hey, like, you got my six is basically what Morgan Riley's got to say to this guy. Because I want to jump up and I want to play in the rush and I want you to be covering my ass at every opportunity. Go watch the Luke Shen tape. Go be nasty like him. Be able to
Yeah.
make just a simple breakout pass, clear the front of the net, make sure that you're looking out for the little mistakes that I'm going to be making in my own end. Carlo kills puck battles too, which is huge for this team
Yeah.
because that's what they were
I
really
wonder what
missing.
his ice time on penalty kills per year is. Like, I'm sure
Mhm.
he's lengthy and he can do
Yeah,
that.
he does. Well, he kills
I,
penalties for
I,
them.
I got to tell you,
Yeah.
you look at the Leafs decor and what a
Yep.
massive difference adding him to it makes.
Yep.
Like, you automatically, you just look at it and now it's Riley, Carlo, Tanev,
Yep.
and McCabe, and then all of Rekman Larson and whoever,
Whoever.
Benoit, it's probably Benoit. It's Benoit. They obviously chose Benoit.
Hmm.
Myers is the guy that they'll mix in and out if they need to on the bottom pair, who can play, 6 or 7 minutes in a playoff game when the other four guys are actually playing more. The other five guys are playing more.
Or the
But
ghost of Yanni Hakanpää.
yeah, I mean, they're not depending on that.
No, they're not.
There's simply no way that the Spirit is playing in any games.
No, he's not. But here's what I will say. I'm not going to quit on that idea while that idea still exists out in the ether, right?
Yeah,
Like, if
fair.
you could have a third line pairing of somehow a healthy Yanni Hakanpää and Oliver Ekman Larsson playing on his proper side, and you bumped out Benoit and Connor Timmins,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got a buffer with Simon Benoit as your seventh defenseman from having Philip Myers join the mix, like that's pretty nice, dude. That's pretty
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
So, yeah, like he's there. This is the other part of
You,
Carlo that I want to mention too, though. It's not just 6'5". It's not just like the reach. It's not just like the nastiness that he plays with. Again, he has not been as productive defensively or offensively this season, right?
yeah,
Boston, a lot of things have gone wrong, but even if you look at the metrics, he has not been the shutdown guy. Like I was looking him up before this pod. Like the last couple of days has been prepping for trade deadline. Like it's not just it's the defensive stuff too, but
yeah.
the Leafs penalty kill has been sneaky bad.
Really bad
And all of a
for a
sudden
while.
and all of a sudden now you've got Simon Benoit and Connor Timmins off your penalty kill.
Yeah,
And you're going from Tanev McCabe to now having Carlo in the mix.
yeah.
Huge boon,
It is.
huge pressure off of Chris Tanev, who's a minutes eater and has to do a lot for you. But
Mm-hmm.
you got to be looking at this right now, basically thinking, okay, you're heading in the playoffs with McCabe and Tanev and Morgan Riley and Carlo.
Yeah,
That's the best four that Toronto has ever had come playoff time. So now when we're doing the like check the boxes, better goaltending than they've ever had, deeper down the middle than they've ever had since
mhm.
Kadri,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And now you've got a better top four than you've ever had too.
Yep. And you think about what they've tried to do with Riley with these like right shot guys over the last little while, right? Like when it's
Hmm.
been it was Labushkin last year, it was Shen the year before, which was it 2 years ago.
Stopgap guys.
It's stopgap guys. And the guys that like if they're playing like what's how many minutes a night is Carlo playing for the Bruins right now? I'm just quickly looking at that. So he played 20 last night, 17 the night before, 18 the night
Mhm.
before, 25, 7 like 18. So this is a guy that you could actually play 20, 25 minutes in a game as opposed
Yeah.
to a guy where, they do Luke Shen and we both are huge Luke Shen guys, but like he would play 14 or 13 minutes, right? Where it
Yeah.
would be like, and then you'd have to elevate somebody else. This is somebody that you can actually stick with. So we'll
Yep.
see. We'll
And
see. But that's
it's like somebody that because of the term,
mhm.
you're hoping that it works out, but that him playing with Morgan Riley, like, dude, pressure on Morgan Riley too. You got to be able to step up and make it work with this guy because he
Mhm.
profiles as the type of dude that you're supposed to work for. So I feel like you really do remove the Morgan Riley excuses from the Rolodex here.
Yeah.
And if he struggles to work with Carlo
Yeah.
and you suck in the playoffs again, and you're trying to figure out different ways to change this roster,
Yeah.
like Morgan Riley, that equation, like that part of it, you remove the whole like he didn't play with a partner that worked for him. It's like, no, man, you get to be on the left side with the ultimate stay-at-home defenseman, a monster 6'5" guy who can actually
Mhm.
move his feet a little bit
Yeah.
and clear the front of the net for you,
That
and who has good gap control, like good in front of the net.
that's such a great point because they've tried so many different guys
Yep.
and it feels like you said this is the it ain't us it's you
Yeah.
move.
Yeah.
Like it's not, how many different guys have you played with this year? How many different guys have you played in
Yep.
the last couple of years? And it's always been the partner. It's like, and how all of us being like, please trade for Luke Shen because that's honestly the only thing that's kind of worked.
Yep.
Or like, can we get Ron Hainsey out of the league
Yeah.
office
Ron
and get him
Hainsey
back?
worked and Luke
So
Shen worked.
yeah, those are the two guys that worked. So
Yep.
this is a souped up version of that, like you said. So we'll see.
Hmm.
But yeah, this is a huge test for Morgan Riley here now because this solidifies sort of the top six. This, you're right. Like it's such a great point that the pressure's on him here now. The pressure is big
Yep.
time on him. And I like what it does for Oliver Ekman-Larsson too, because we were both fans of the signing. We are both fans of what he's given them at points this year, but it's been up and down. And he's an older guy, and he's played a little bit more than I think either of us would have wanted him to potentially.
100%.
And now this kind of bumps him down more into the 15, 16 range as opposed to like the 19, 20 range, which he's been playing a lot recently. And
So,
that Riley Oliver Ekman-Larsson pair has been a total disaster. So
yeah.
this is a big move for Oliver Ekman-Larsson too.
So yeah, I love it for OEL. You protect him and he gets to go in the same role that he won with the Panthers last year and that he thrived in with the Panthers last year. And now you try to find him like a couple more minutes when it comes to, some offensive zone opportunities. Maybe you're mixing him in on that on like a power play unit. I don't know, but you're getting to keep OEL fresh as he goes through a postseason and hopefully playing his natural side. I don't know if he will though if he's playing with Benoit because Benoit is such a chopper as is that
Yeah.
you don't really want him playing on his offhand.
No.
You're probably relying on OEL to do that for you.
Yeah.
Other point on this, what I like about it is Brandon Carlo is the type of guy that if you were a Panthers fan or a Lightning fan and
Mhm.
Toronto got him, you'd be like, damn it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
oh, damn it. They got
Unbelievable.
this guy. But now it's time for us to do a little guessing game while we wait for this. So Luke Shen went for a second and a fourth.
I think 2027 first and Minton would be my guess.
Well, they gave up the 27th.
Oh, sorry,
first,
2026. 2026 first and Minton. And
Well, and
Timmins and
Timmins
something
and
else.
maybe Robertson.
Maybe. I don't know. Robertson, potentially. Robertson on the Bruins has nightmares potential,
Yeah.
but that would be my guess. Your guess?
My guess is that it's like maybe they gave up Danford,
Yeah.
thinking that Boston wanted a right shot D back, and that they gave up Danford, and that they gave up that first as well. So let me say this, which again would be real pricey for a guy having a down season.
Absolutely.
So I'm hoping I shot high on this, by the way. Like that's a high guess for me, but that's also again within the context of Luke Shen, a cheaper but like drastically older player. But Luke Shen went for a second and a four. So D is pricey. Let me give you some Brandon Carlo stats too. He's 25th in the NHL among defensemen in blocks per game. So 2 block shots per game. You add another guy that does that to your decor, immensely important come playoff time, right? Think about what Chris Tanev has done for this team in terms of that element of his game.
Yep.
So now you're going to have two shot blocking right-hand D-boys on the back end for you. Puck battle wins per game, 2.
Yeah.
Again, I'm always dubious of this statistic, but that puts him 35th.
Who does those? Like who?
I don't know.
It's always a different person doing those stats and like what they
This is
perceive
Sports
as
Logic. I'm
okay.
reading these off of Sports
That's
Logic.
fair. That's a good stat though.
Yeah. So like I'm getting these from Sports Logic. So defensive rank 35th in the NHL.
Yeah.
So yeah, top 40 guy in terms of winning battles, which is something that we all agree this team needs and has been a real sore spot in years past. And you want to think about a series against Florida or Tampa and those two teams dump and chase, going into your own end and having to kill a cycle, having to kill a battle, having a battle with like a Matthew Tkachuk or pick your lightning player. God, this is like, hopefully this guy's the
Jesus.
The Nick Paul stopper.
Yeah. Or the Yanni Gord stopper, the Jake Gensel stopper.
Yeah, just the anybody
Hagel,
stopper.
Cirelli stopper. Sorry, I could go down the list.
This guy obviously does not have a great stick in terms of like playmaking abilities. This is not a guy that you're going to see break out the puck and you're going to go, wow. However, his turnover rate is 14.7%, which ranks him 136th among defensemen. So he's responsible with it. Doesn't give up a lot of mistakes. Zone denials, 2.7 per game. That's 97th. And then, points, he's in the bottom. But those are the Sports Logic stats for this guy. So again, you acquired someone who's going to have an impact on your team. You're going to have a guy that is absolutely going to matter. And this has got to be, right? This is the biggest defenseman that they've had since Hal Gill.
It's a big man. I will say, well, I mean, our Lord and Savior, Yanni Hakanpää, played a couple games this year. He was
big. That's true. Yeah, Hakanpää, I guess,
he had two games.
2 games for Hawks.
I will say that the only tough part about this trade for me is he wears 25 in Boston, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So he's just going to slide into Timmins, 25, right-hand shot guy.
That's why they traded Timmins. They're just like, buddy, this is just a lot easier if you just get out of here.
It's going to be a real splash, cold water in the face moment, being like, oh, yeah, that's not Timmins. Oh, he's not going to turn it over. Oh, he's not going to try a crazy breakout pass and turn it over.
Yeah.
It's a big difference in man wearing the same number.
Damn it. I want the price, though, man.
Yeah,
because I'll tie it up by saying this, though. Like, again, if you're Brad Treliving, you went into this deadline, you needed a defenseman and you needed a center, and you got both.
Yep.
And you didn't overpay for the centerman to a degree that has people puking and throwing up and saying, what, this is the type of deal that's going to haunt us. You also got retention. Like I said, the guy has proven that he can play in the postseason, granted in limited runs, and it's been a hot minute since he's been in it. But like he profiles as a good defensive center who can give you a little bit of offense in a playoff style environment. This is very like Brad Treliving, Craig Berube style deadline here, because Tree went out and got one of his guys, a big old monster that his players have faced. I wonder,
buddy, the kink man is back.
Oh yeah, he's
like,
kink.
Oh, he's 6'5", man. I should go hang around him a little more. Be like, yeah, I could shoot it in the net for you. I'll play the wing for you. I'm 6'5".
I was going to say Brad Treliving and Girls on Hinge all just dying for a 6'5" guy. It's like, that's the two. Nobody outside of Hinge wants 6'5" dudes more than Brad Treliving. So yeah, we're waiting on the price. We might end up not getting it into this show because you're going to have to run to the live reacts. But
yeah,
I think overall right now, without knowing it from a needs standpoint, you got to be pretty happy. Like here's the other part of it too.
Yeah, except the fact that Brad Marchand played for the Panthers. That sucks.
100%. And but let's look at it from a you control what you can control standpoint, right? Yeah. Control what you can control standpoint. Brad Treliving went into this deadline at the 11th hour and said, I'm going to get us a center and I'm going to get us a big right shot defenseman who can win battles, protect the front of the net, and play next to Morgan Riley.
Yep.
And check, he got the two most important things on this team, right?
Bingo.
Like, if you're talking about needs, he got them. Are they perfect fits? No. One guy's coming off a down. Both guys are coming off down years.
Yeah.
Like Laughton has been down this year too. Like there's a reason why they kicked him out to the
suck.
Flyers suck. So do the Bruins though.
Yeah.
So you're hoping that change of pace and playoff environment is going to be good for these kind of guys. And yeah, to your point about like, I do think that it matters bringing in Laughton, who wears a letter and who is a Toronto guy, Oakville raised, knows what it's going to be like to be a Maple Leaf and is going to actually care to be there. Loved by his teammates, right? universally loved in Philadelphia. That was one thing that I checked in on that guy.
Well, you saw
Got
that
back.
picture that he tweeted out, right? The Last
Right.
Supper.
He's one of the boys.
Yeah,
He's one of the boys.
yeah.
And I think for Carlo, it's the same thing. You just came from a winning culture in Boston. You beat Toronto year over year. You don't think that there's like, when NFL coaches, they hire or they get some guy off the practice squad because it helps give the details about your team. I
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the idea of getting Brandon Carlo in there. And maybe if he can find a voice to tell the Leafs, like, this is something that we game planned against you last year. This is something we felt like we could take away from you. Isn't that kind of nice?
I like that. I do like that. I like that perspective, but he's gonna want to be nice. He'll be like, you
Yeah, it
guys.
has its
He's
limitations.
like,
Yeah.
hey, you guys are super soft and always
Yeah.
fold in the big moments, and that's why we
Yeah.
win.
We
That's
just felt we could make Marner
we,
cry.
we
And,
just own you.
yeah,
So we just own you. American Carlo. I thought he was Canadian.
yeah, he
Colorado
is.
Springs. So there you
Yeah,
go.
he's American.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Oh, big old Yankee.
Got any
Big old
tariffs on
six
him or
five.
what?
But yeah, so I mean, that's what we're waiting to see. That's basically the wrap on this sucker. Okay, while we wait for this, you want to say like who you thought was your biggest winner of the deadline, your biggest
Yeah,
loser?
Panthers #1.
I mean, hard to say not, right?
Who
You got
else?
Seth Jones and Brad Marchand. Well, I was
Yeah,
going to say I was going to say
Colorado's
the
good too.
Stars. Colorado's good too, but ultimately you still did trade away a guy who's like on a list with Gretzky and Messier and
Yeah,
like, with
yeah, it's
best
true.
playoff
Yeah,
performers of
it's
all
true.
time.
Yeah, it's true.
So ultimately, if they get bounced, you look at it and say, why didn't you just give them the 12.5 million and call it a
Mhm.
day? Like, why'd you try to get cute with this thing? I will say
Yeah,
Colorado's super deep and very interesting. And I hated the trade for Boston. We're giving up Coyle for Middlestat and a second
yeah,
round
second
pick. I
round
was
pick.
like,
Yeah.
and like, I'm not a Middlestat guy.
Although
Sorry. Like,
Coyle isn't exactly a playoff ace. I don't know if you've looked at his
no,
numbers over his
no,
career in the
he's
playoffs. He's
not.
not exactly a playoff ace. So
Yeah, but you think about them down the middle now. It's like
they're stacked.
they got Drury, they got Nelson, they got Coyle that can do
Yeah.
it. Like they've
That
just got
McKinnon's pretty good too.
well, I just did know.
Yeah.
Like I was talking about the guys they added. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, Nathan McKinnon, they got him in McCarr. If I got to say it to the people that those guys are there. Um, I think Dallas is the biggest winner of the day. Like you grabbed Rantanen essentially off the scrap heap for 2 firsts that you don't give
Yeah.
a crap about. You're one of the markets that clearly has
And,
the advantage with state tax with free agents.
and that Wyatt Johnson
That's what I'm
contract
saying.
rocks too. 5
Buddy,
years,
he
8.4. He's such a great player.
he rules.
He's gonna outperform that. The cap's going up millions and millions and millions of
Yeah.
dollars. That he's gonna outperform that immediately. So
Dude, I love it. So I like Stankoven's a good player,
yeah,
right? Like you watch him and you're like, this guy's pretty good. But talk about your development, your scouting to get a late second round pick
yeah.
and an undersized guy and send him off to Carolina. And it's like he hasn't been a great finisher this year. And all I think of that trade is okay, if you're a Carolina fan and you just went from Mikko Rantanen to Stankoven, you're like, what just happened?
Yeah, what
You
just
know, like,
happened?
we were talking Stanley Cups and lifting them
Yeah,
with the Finns, like Team Finland.
that's
And
not
now we
happening.
got Stankoven, who's like a
Mm,
nice piece, but
yeah.
they didn't move the first.
They should have lost
Like,
the Bruins last night, who stink. I don't know if you watched that game, but
didn't.
Zadorov's stick exploded in the slot when he was trying to pass it. And they
Yes,
ended
I
up
did
losing.
see that
Yeah,
goal.
I
Yeah.
watched that whole game. Like Boston was way better than them. They're not. Tulski on the hot seat. Like
Oh,
I think
buddy.
if you
Hottest
zoom
of
out, if you
seats.
zoom out and look at what you could convince yourself that it's an okay return, but you have neither Marty Natchez or Mikko Rantanen on your team anymore, and you had both of them at one point this year. So
Yeah.
tough
No,
sell.
it's wild. The only loss for Colorado in this is like you got
Yeah.
deeper, you got a lot more flexible, but you probably didn't think that Rantanen was going to end up on a conference rival with the potential to face you in the postseason.
That's a tough L.
Yeah.
And
Like,
not just for like one run,
yeah.
for the
It's
next 8 years.
they missed the turnoff on the highway and
Yeah.
rerouting.
Well,
Like,
and Dallas too. It's like,
I know.
oh, they like that Stankoven, but I mean, like they just got Mikko Rantanen.
Yeah.
Like
My biggest
him and Hintz, those two Finnish mules playing on the same line, just driving the puck to the net. He's gonna work perfectly there. I can already picture him in that uni. He looks perfect,
all
guaranteed.
right. So I can tell you right now, Fraser
Hmm,
Minton is part of the deal. So you were right.
really?
Yeah. Fraser Minton uh is heading out. So
Are you
there's
reporting that?
no, it's I'm seeing this on Twitter now. And then like Myrtle just said Leafs are giving up a first prospect and there are multiple trades involved here. So it's complicated because they're gonna I'm guessing that they're trying to figure out retention to make this thing work as well. But yeah, so you were right. When you said 2026 first and Fraser Minton, that appears to be what they did for this guy, which again,
Minton
steep.
and Minton on the Bruins.
Yeah.
Nightmare
Steep,
potential there.
steep, real steep.
Yeah.
Again, I think you kind
Just
of
hope he
had to
doesn't
do it.
turn into hope he doesn't turn into Anthony Cirelli.
Well, I'll tell you this though too is like the firsts were always in play for me, and
Uh-huh.
Fraser Minton. This will come back to bite me in the ass, but like good two-way player. I
Mm-hmm.
liked him, cost controllable. Thought that he was the closest guy that was going to be able to come up and help this team in the near future. But he's a bottom six guy.
Yep.
Like it's the same thing with Grebenkin.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy if I'm a Leafs fan today with the thought of you still have Easton Cowan and you potentially didn't give up Van Danford. We don't know that for sure, but it's like you still have two of your first round picks in the cupboards that you're
Mm-hmm.
kind of hoping and can come up and supplement your talent maybe as they get a little bit older if you don't move them for something bigger down the line. Like
Yep.
keeping Easton Cowan for this team and still addressing their needs. I think that's ultimately a win, even though, like I said, out of the five assets, six best assets that your organization had, you just moved out at least three of them for two guys that are depth pieces. Like, let's
Yep.
not get it twisted. That's two
Nope.
depth pieces. You did not acquire a star.
But you had to do it, man. Look
Yep.
at the teams around you. Like you had to
Yep.
try to get better. Like
Agree.
and when you remember when you're like, oh, the East is weaker this year. Look at these, the Panthers aren't as good and the
Yep.
Lightning, and it's like all of a sudden they're the two best teams in the league. You have to win the division.
Yeah, you do. You do.
And Marchand's week to week, so he's not going to
yep.
contribute for a little while for them. So at least you have like that head start. But now,
Yep.
now I think they're ahead of you. They've played one more game, the Panthers, and I think the Lightning are 1 point back of you. This is going to be a dog fight. And I think they still have two
Huge.
games left against Florida.
They do. They've
This
got
year.
one this week and they've got one when you're on vacation.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So,
Nice.
and Borney will be filling on that one. I got to
Yeah.
tell you this though, too, on Fraser Minton. I've spoken to him before. He's
Mhm.
sharp.
Great kid.
Yeah,
Great
real
kid.
sharp and like by all accounts, mega coachable.
Mhm.
Again, all through junior, like guy that wore a letter, same sort of thing.
Yeah. Captain of the World Junior team, bud.
Yeah, she's got a little bit of yeah, she's got a little bit of this guy going to be a Boston Bruin that you hate to play for years to come. But you'll
Yeah,
take Brennan, you'll take
yeah.
Brendan Carlo for the next couple of years. Again, this isn't just a pure rental. So
No.
you did that too. Like you've got guys that aren't just here this year for this run. You've got guys who year two under Berube, where
Mhm.
coaches feel like they really start to get their vision down pat. You've got two guys that are going to be a part of that for you, and that matters to
Absolutely.
me. So
Absolutely.
I'm going to give the Leafs a B for this deadline. Like
I'll go B plus.
yeah, I'm going to give them a B. The only reason I'm not giving a B plus is because, like I said, you did have to use three of your final five
Fair.
or six, four if you're including Grebenkin of your six best assets. You kept on to your best two,
Mhm.
and you didn't add someone that is like ready-made. Oh my God, this is such a like automatic, no doubt about it, ceiling changer like a Marchand, like I
Yeah.
think a Seth Jones is going to be in Florida, like I think that Rantanen's going to be, like I think Brock Nelson's going to be. You went a tier down and you paid some expensive prices, but given the parameters or what you needed to do and the holes you needed to fill it, I think they did pretty damn well. So yeah, I think that's it for us today, right?
Yeah, I gotta go.
Yeah, all
I
right.
gotta go prepare my other show.
Yeah, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at JD Bunkus, at Sam McKee. Reach out, give us your letter grades, tell us your thoughts on this deal. If you're watching on YouTube, leave the thumbs up. If you're listening on the podcast, leave a review. Really helps us out. We'll see you after the game on Saturday night, maybe with a few more thoughts.
Fresh new toys.
Yeah, fun.
Yeah.
Fun
Yeah.
game. All of a sudden, it was already fun because it's Colorado, but yeah, way more fun now. All right. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you Saturday.